let's talk about the history of the Riddler. DC has many villains that we all love to watch, amongst the most popular, the Joker. But what about some other villains who don't get enough screen time, namely the Riddler? In the upcoming Batman movie with Robert Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz, the Riddler makes his appearance after so many of the Batman movies are made without him as the antagonist. Before we watch the upcoming Batman film, let's take a look at the history of the Riddler. Let's start with the comic book origin of Edward Nygma, also known as the Riddler. In the 1948 Detective Comics, number 140, we are given flashbacks of Edward Nygma growing up as a very curious kid in the town of Waterbury. It was there that he would pester and annoy his parents and the adults around him with questions, which quickly made him want to be the guy with all the answers, even if that means he formed some of the questions himself. Now this is the turning point that began this desire. We see Edward in his 6th grade class where his teacher announces a very special assignment that is a game, puzzle, and ultimately a test, and that the winner will receive a prize. She also says that the winner will be honored at next week's assembly. Wanting to win, he sneaks into the school one night to practice the puzzle and to solve it in 1 minute. Though he is smart and clever, he becomes a cheater to get what he wants and to solve anything. As he said in the comics, "I relied on my gift for the cheat. I have no real skill but the fix." He's basically a megalomaniac with a huge ego to know everything. He did end up winning the prize, which was a puzzle and riddle book, and quickly became fixated on similar thrills. We see that Edward explains how he wants the attention and to be noticed by others. He gives riddles and puzzles to his classmates for them to solve, which even though it gave him recognition and attention, it only just made him more noticeable by bullies, especially when they can't solve the puzzle. Regardless, he did take comfort in his prize full of riddles and mind games, and this evolved into a huge obsession. Many years later, adult Edward ends up in a day job as a delivery boy, but quickly grew bored and became a thief. However, even with this, there was no thrill or finesse with being a thief. He realized he didn't get any thrill or excitement for winning by cheating anymore. From here, he changed his name to Edward Nygma and would leave riddles every time he completed a job. This is how he officially became the Riddler. The Riddler was not just known to steal riches and gain mass attention. He wants to be known by proving his intellect and superiority over anyone, especially that of Batman, Gotham's greatest detective. After their first meetup, Riddler became obsessed with outwitting the Dark Knight. Over several comic books, we see the Riddler develop obsessive-compulsive disorder and an intense ego, as well as his smooth-talking and quirky personality. Unlike other DC villains, he doesn't kill his opponents, but rather, he enjoys tricking them and placing them into elaborate traps. Though he goes through many defeats, leaving him frustrated by his lack of stopping Batman and the authorities, he tried to commit his usual crimes without his trademark tactics and riddles, but it left him angry and wanting him to resume his usual ways. He goes and does his one-note crimes and becomes bored, starting to create elaborate plans and bigger crimes. An important part to note during this was that there was a time where Nygma got cancer, but managed to cure himself by using one of Ra's al Ghul's Lazarus pits. Not only did it cure his cancer, it gave him a moment of clarity where he was able to deduce that Bruce Wayne was indeed Batman. From here, it led Nygma to create a big complex scheme against Batman, where he approached Bruce's old friend, who became his nemesis, Thomas Elliot. Through this, Elliot would become the villain Hush. The Riddler was able to recruit almost every member of Batman's enemies into his plan. Batman was able to take out most of his enemies and figured out that the Riddler was the mastermind behind this. But when the Riddler tried to blackmail Bruce by threatening to expose his true identity, Batman responded by saying that the Riddler could never tell anyone since it would render the information worthless. There will no longer be a riddle or mystery behind who the Batman is. In addition, Batman threatened to tell the League of Assassins that Edward used their Lazarus pit, which quickly shut up the Riddler. Now, it is almost important to note that the Riddler has many different interpretations through the universe, from being deranged and comical to a more clever, calmed-down version of the Riddler. There was a time where he would work with Batman to solve mysteries and become a private consultant hired by other people. So, there you have it. That is the origin and history of the Riddler. His story is a very solid backstory, and even though it's technically a mainstream villain that everyone has heard of, not too many people know his origin. But now you do! I cannot wait to see Paul Dano play his version of the Riddler, and if we get to see a bit of the Riddler's backstory in the new Batman movie with Robert Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz on March 4th, that would be amazing! If you enjoyed our video, be sure to check out our other videos covering other DC and Marvel origin stories, and if you enjoyed all of our content, be sure to subscribe, like, or comment. It always helps our channel grow. Thanks again for watching, and like always, I'll see you in the next Geek video. Bye!